Okay, give me a second. Woo! Okay. So, the first thing that we would like to do is, while everyone is coming in, I would like to share you all that our lovely Crystal got permission for us to use. So, can we all see? Are we all good? Right. While people are coming in, hello everybody. Welcome, welcome. So excited to see you all. Is there sound? I don't hear sound.
No.
Yeah, I don't hear sound. So you might have to help me out a little bit. I might be having.
Can I talk you through it, Randy?
But Crystal, I do need you to mute yourself. There's background noise going on. Yes, Quincy, would you please?
Absolutely. So the first thing you need to do is stop sharing.
Okay.
Okay.
Stop sharing.
Press the share button again.
Okay.
And there is a little toggle button right at the top beside share content, and it says include sound. You need to click that. And when you click that, you'll be all good, and then just share like normal. You're doing great.
Thank you so much. All right. And we should have sound this time. So as you all know, today we are talking about suicide awareness and prevention. So Miss Crystal thought that this would be a beautiful song to open us up today. I'm still not getting sound. I'm not sure why I'm not getting sound. I thought. No, that was. Yeah. All right, there we're fine. All right. So while everyone's coming in, I'm going to mute myself. If you would like to settle and get ready, let's give this a couple minutes.
So what did you even do today? What do I always do? I work, sleep, and eat. That is such a lie. I'm so tired of it lately. This is all I am, and all I know. To speak in the midst of the silence, listen to the places that I've been and where I'll go. With your hand taking mine, and all of what you made of the memories, I'll never let you go. I am the strong, I am the brave, I am the star, I am the pain. Hell will fight by your side until we're whole. You're not alone. Even through the rain and fading light, remember every word that you told me. Sing it out loud, whisper it slowly. Just hold on, 'cause day breaks on its way. We used to run from all of our shadows, and now we're here to stay. I am the strong, I am the brave, I am the star, I am the pain. Hell will fight by your side until we're whole. I am the strong, I am the brave, I am the star, I am the pain. Hell will fight by your side. carries on with us. I am not strong, I am the brave. Hell will fight, fire stop until we're won. I am the strong, I am the brave, I am the storm, I am the pain. Hell will fight, fire stop until we're won. You're not alone. You're not alone.
Thank you so much, Crystal. That was an amazing song for the opening. And yes, we do have permission. She spoke to the artist personally, and we got clearance for that. Don't worry. So, welcome everybody. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for all of you here. So, let's jump right in. I would like to introduce my co-host, Tobi. Tobi, an amazing mind healer, and she uses powerful, powerful energy to help enlighten people and bring them back to balance. Tobi, please introduce yourself. First, we have Dr. Christine Highfield, who recently got her PhD from the University of Texas. We actually have Jordan, one of my great friends in the audience. Hi, Mo. Christine, would you please introduce yourself and tell us why you are here with us today?
Hi, my name is Dr. Christine Heifel. I am here today because I believe suicide awareness is a critical component of society today. A lot of my research has been surrounding how can we support veteran families to help them avoid the suicide of their loved one. And also, I experienced the suicide of a very dear friend of mine when I was a young girl, and it changed me. And so whatever I can do to help somebody else avoid suicide or walk through that dark path after a loved one has died by suicide, I'm down for.
That is amazing. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so, so honored that you agreed to show up today. Our second speaker today will be Miss Kara Wilson. She is an awesome life coach, but she definitely redefines the whole concept of life coaching. She is more of a paid best friend. Kara, why don't you introduce yourself?
Man, I don't know that I can introduce myself better than that. I sound kind of awesome when you say it that way. I'm Kara Jean Wilson. I am an executive coach. I do leadership development. I am here and I do what I do entirely because of my brother's suicide 7 years ago, and being in a place of leadership in that spot and recognizing that the toll of taking care of other people and the hustle cult that has a death grip on our world is a huge factor that cost him his life. And the skills that come into leadership are the skills of peopling, and they are the skills that allow us to navigate the deep and wide waters of our lives in a healthy and sustainable kind of way, and I am determined to get it out to everyone.
That is just so beautiful. And honestly, man, you have inspired me so much. So I'm so happy for you to be here. Our favorite, ow, sorry, I had the dog stabbing me in the gut. Our final speaker today will be Miss Crystal. I'm really bad about pronouncing her last name, but she does go by the Crystal Phoenix online if you want to follow her, find her. Um, Unfortunately, Dr. Highfield has a medical emergency for a family member, so if she does come back, we will welcome her back with open arms. Crystal, would you please introduce yourself and let us know why you are here today?
Well, my name is Crystal Bay, also known as Crystal Phoenix, and suicide awareness is a very, very dear topic for me as I lost somebody. Actually, I've lost quite a few people in the last few years to suicide. One just as recent as August 3rd. And it's in her honor that I wanted to speak today on this and um, basically talk about how to cope and with support each other and to recognize the signs.
Well, I'm very sorry for all of your loss, but you are here and you are a rock star. So, first discussion that I would like to have is I would like to talk about with Toby holistic wellness. Toby, what does that mean? People hear the word holistic and they think, potions and witchy stuff. But yeah, as Kara says, woo woo. But in reality, when we talk about holistic wellness, it actually means overall. It means a whole body picture. So, Toby, talk to us about holistic wellness and how you achieve it with the people that you speak with. I actually, yeah, mic drop. I actually wanted to ask you a forwarding question. Building on that, how do you navigate through this societal universal struggle that is based around strictly mental health status versus mental wellness. Whereas people are always worried about the labels, you are, you are, you are. We actually had this discussion just recently about the 3Ds and how, you are, all of these labels. But what does that mean about the wellness? What would you say about that? That's honestly very powerful. Just remembering that you you don't have to allow anybody to dictate your narrative. Your story is your story. You may be having a bad day today. That's just part of the chapter. If you think about your life and just 1 year is a chapter of your life, imagine in books, how much happens in that one chapter. There's so much that goes on, but it doesn't mean it's the end. Um, a few years ago, there was the movement that started the semicolon movement. I actually do have a semicolon tattoo. And the concept was very beautiful to me that when in writing, you don't necessarily want to end a sentence, but you don't know how to continue the sentence. So you put a semicolon and you make it a compound sentence. And it really just explains that you don't have to stop. Sometimes you just have to take a breath. Um, One of the things that reminds me of that every day is actually my personal. I have a what I call a wellness toolbox, and it has my list of coping skills, and it has all of these things that I've learned throughout the years in my years of therapy. And unfortunately, we don't get to hear from Dr. Highfill, but I do feel like we, in honor of the medical emergency that's happening with Dr. Highfill, I would like the four of us to each take a turn and share our favorite coping skill. So mine is a mixture of visualization and creative outlet. I love to write. I love to create things. I love to mess with world history and say, well, what if this happened? And that's my coping. I love to just sit and research, and it really broadens my mind. It gets me out of my right now, and it allows me to embrace my highest self. So I'm actually going to shake it up here. Crystal, what is your most powerful coping skill that you use when life is just pushing that weight down on?
Oh wow. Honestly, music. Um, I even at the worst with my anxiety, I would even have drumsticks in my car with me. Drumming, singing, anything to do with music is my true release. Honestly, music helps me, and it even helps me talk. There's been times where you can't get the words out, and you just find that one song that just can convey how you're feeling emotionally. I have playlists for all of it. That is my biggest coping. And honestly, I'll own it. Helping others helps me. I'm very big with, I'd rather focus on other people's problems than my own. I own it. It's a deflection, but it does help because it gets me out of the moment to when I can move back into what was going on that was triggering me and activating my anxiety, things like that, and focus on actually healing and trying to move past it in a better mindset. So,
I want to point something out to you, and I want to send some unconditional love your way, because it is only society who tells us that helping other people is unhealthy when we don't help ourselves. But what I would like people to maybe change the paradigm of helping other people can help you get perspective on your own problems. If you hear of a friend or a loved one going through a struggle and you're like, I went through something like that recently, maybe they were thinking this way and I just didn't consider that situation. If you're helping other people to the detriment of yourself, yes, that is unhealthy, and maybe you should try and work on a healthy hobby. But if helping people is your healthy hobby, it's only society that tells you that it's wrong. And it's only because helping other people empowers them, and empowerment is terrifying for the people who push hustle culture, as Kara has taught us. So Kara, speaking of, what is your coping skill? Because I know you have a whole toolbox of trouble.
So many of them. Yes. First, I want to talk to the tend and befriend that we were just talking about. So the trauma responses, fight, flight, freeze, and flock, right? We've all heard these. Those were done entirely in male-driven studies. There were no women in any of those studies. So in the last 3 years, they've started to look at some of the other trauma responses. And the most common two for women is to tend and befriend. And in an epigenetic space, that speaks highly to me on how we have been groomed for generations to be the caregivers. It is a normal way that we release that cortisol in our system, is to go share with others, either in tending to them or in sharing the weight of it through a befriending. So that is a new area of study that is absolutely totally aligned with everything that we're doing. Love, love, love that. Okay. As to my tools, so my current favorite is really leaning into present moment awareness, because it has such a massive ripple effect in everything that you're doing. Again, epigenetics. So I work with a lot of neurospicy, neurodivergent. And in that space, our brains lie to us on a regular basis. So just because they're pitching what it is doesn't mean I have to be buying it, right? Including medical doctors, all the way to my own brain. My brain and body will be like, we're on fire. And I'm like, no, we're not actually. Okay, take a breath. Okay, let's find something that's red in the room. There's red. Okay, and yellow, cool. Orange, love it. Blue, okay, purple. All right, so now that we're back here where life is actually happening, we're not actually on fire, because we were able to stop and look at 5 different colors. Oh, you're not actually dying. Let's address the situation in a way that is a little bit more in alignment with what is actually happening. And that 10 seconds, that taking a breath in, letting it out, taking another breath in, that process of allowing yourself to be present in that moment and go through the feelings. And I'm changing my language on that. So I don't know that I agree anymore that you need to go through a feeling. I think that you can walk next to it. I think that you can befriend and tend to those feelings. And the more present you are, and in a medical terminology, the more you stop disassociating in real life and start disassociating in your own mind, so you can have those conversations and jack that power back for internal work, it's just easier the more time you spend being present. So present moment awareness, just notice little things and see what that changes in how you notice the world.
There's actually been studies, I'm sure you know about these, Kara, but there's actually been studies that have said that when you stop and utilize your mindfulness, it actually raises your personal perception levels. And I have dog hair in my mouth. And you are able to analyze situations from different perspectives because you have these new awareness levels and you can see from different directions. It's a fascinating study. We were talking about it during my summer quarter for my bachelor's program. It was very interesting. Hey, you up, man? Do I even have to ask you about coping skills? You just light up the room. You are just the sunshine, Tobi. So let's talk about coping skills, Tobi. What coping skills do you use? Well, I have a better question. What coping skills do you use now that did not work for you when you were in your darkest moment? Thank you. I'm speechless, honestly. You just blow my mind, Toby. Blow my mind. So, I guess it's my turn. Ollie, don't spoil the ending, Ollie. He's bringing up courage already. So, my story is pretty hard to hear, so I'm not gonna dive too deep into it. But I will say that I have attempted suicide more times than years I have been alive. I have been institutionalized when I was a child. My self-loathing got so bad and so destructive that I got sent to prison for it. And that is when I woke up. When you hit that deep low and you just decide, I am done being angry, I am done hating myself, I am done listening to all of those people who say, you are not enough, you are whatever. And so after I got out of prison, I dove headfirst into learning coping skills so that I could look at myself in the mirror and not want to break it. Let's be honest. So, one of the strongest coping skills that I use to this day is my creativity. And I ended up writing a book. I ended up publishing a workshop for people who want to start a business. I am rewriting mythological history for fun because why not? And that's how I cope. It's like Kara said, sometimes you're just spiraling and spinning and you have to take yourself out of the moment and just go, okay, so life decided to just throw me into a tornado just now. And let's reassess. Let's revisit here. So whenever I need that moment, whenever I'm feeling that, yeah, when life be life and Kara, when life be life, and I like to sit down with mythology or something about history, and I'm like, I don't like it. Let's see what would happen if we throw this random thing into it. And for me, it's like imagining new perspectives, imagining new futures. It's very helpful for embracing new concepts, new ideas. And honestly, if I didn't have such a creative mind with my writing, I probably wouldn't have even published my book. So I would like to jump forward a few minutes because unfortunately Dr. Heifel. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Oh, I have learned a lot about celebrating myself from Kara and Toby in the last few months. And I just got to know Crystal, but she's amazing. She checks in on me like almost every day. It's absolutely fantastic. So speaking of supporting and loving people, we are going to jump about 5 minutes forward, and I'm going to bring Kara up here. Kara is going to chat with us about how she supports and loves people unconditionally through their trauma, because let me tell you, she knows some people.
I know the best people, let's be honest. And it's because I firmly believe that it is baseline basic that we all go through trauma and drama. So to attach some sort of judgment to a person because they have humaned, that's like using your good judgment to be mental. I'm not here for that. That's weird, right? Yes. So we're going to talk about supporting loved ones through crisis. I'm going to tell you all the quick bullet points, and then we will dive into them because I like sharing information in advance. So we're going to understand the crisis. We're going to talk about that trauma, the drama, the soup, suit, and stardust. That will all make sense in a minute, I promise. We're going to talk about the importance of being present, showing up, and we're going to talk about the platinum rule versus the golden rule. Again, all of this will make sense here in a minute. We're going to talk about empathy over sympathy and how to validate but still let things be. I'm going to share what I had as really practical support when I went through the loss of my brother. And instead of talking about the stages of grief, because I don't know about you guys, but I think I could process through all of the stages in 10 seconds and then do it again. So the idea that there were stages just didn't track for me. But when I got given the 6 needs of grief, it was like, oh, there are things I can do. Oh, thank God, I have some control in my life again. Thank you, I needed that. Yeah, so we're going to share those. Then we're going to talk about boundaries and self-care and working from me to we, because that's, a leadership thing and it's my bag. And then we're going to talk about encouraging professional help as well as that long-term help. And then I'm going to share some of the care method in that, okay? So now you know the direction we're going. So, understanding crisis. And I am not a therapist. However, I have seen a lot of them, and I vetted this statement through 26 of them to make sure I wasn't leading people astray, right? So we're going to define trauma and drama for this process, right? Trauma is what happens when your meat suit is cruising along and somebody else's meat suit crashes all over it, because we don't have control over other people. So we are traumatized by that and dealing with that. Whereas when our meat suit crashes into other people, well, that's drama because we have control of ourselves. So what is dramatic to us is traumatic to others. And what is traumatic to us would be dramatic to others. Understanding both sides of that crisis space allows you to understand and navigate the nuances of each of those spaces, because provided there is no intent for harm, like no actual intent for it, most of the time you can manage through those crises and come out stronger on the other side. If there is intent for harm, well, then that's a whole different conversation, and you probably want to loop in some professionals to that, right? So understanding what that crisis looks like and what the signs of that are. Is it that you are struggling with things that are out of your control and the weight of that? Because it is a huge, massive weight. Most of our life is out of our control. Life be life, and that's life's whole job is to come in and life all over you. So remembering that your whole job is to take care of yourself so you can life right back is a really important step. And recognizing when people aren't doing that, either for themselves or the people around them. If you can't hold that space for yourself, the spiral just starts from there. So really recognizing some of those behavioral, emotional changes that people are going through because of crises, because of trauma and drama, because they both weigh mentally the same. Maybe not physically the same, but mentally the same, right? So meat suit, hormone soup, mush management, stardust. This is the language we're going to use just to kind of set some baseline basics. We are essentially meat soup, right? This thing being pumped full of hormone soup and literally made of the same things as the stars, like tangibly stardust. And the whole hot mess is controlled by this mush management team that is a dynamic genius idiot who loves to adapt and change and fall into old patterns of behavior. So things that you'll see people go through as they are going through crisis is they stop taking care of their meat suit. They just simply will stop. The showers, the feeding, the hydrating, all of that's too much. It becomes a weight rather than a thing they get to do. They will not smile or take care of their hormone soup. They're going to live in that cortisol space of depression and anxiety rather than looking for those dopamine releases and those cortisol release let goes, the oxygen that allows that to process through your brain. Right? So you'll start to see those behavioral changes. You can also start to see just the stardust changes. The things that connected them aren't there. The people, they're not reaching out, they're not following up. They're kind of putting up invisible barriers that disconnect them from life because they are feeling disconnected from life, and that manifests physically. And the things that they would do that would normally make them a star, make them sparkle, fill their dreams, they just are like ennui about it. They're like, meh. I mean, yeah, I guess that's kind of important. If you are seeing those behaviors and the people around you, reach out. And that's where we get to this next one, the importance of being present. Literally, existing next to someone can change their outlook on everything massively. Being in the space of suicide, and it's a messed up club to be in it, but thank goodness there's a club here to support us through it, right? Having that literal just existence and understanding of what somebody is going through, simply being present with them can help pull them out of that. I have heard so many stories in the multitude of courses, classes, and things that we did to recover ourselves around, I would be dead except my cat rubbed my leg. I would be dead except somebody called. I would be dead except something reached out and connected me back into life. It can be as simple as that. So to Tobi's point, just being on the other side of that phone and not having the judgment, just allowing them to be with you is such a huge gift. You are such a huge gift. So that goes in reverse, allowing people to be with you. If you are in one of those spaces, and I get the weight of reaching out and doing that and how hard that can be, but when someone reaches out, allowing them to be with you, that is as much a gift for them as it is for you. So being present, because you are that worthy and that powerful and that dynamic, and even when you do not feel that way, you actually still are. And to someone, that can be game changing. It could be you. And then empathy over sympathy. So when we are being present with them, the last things that you want to let out of your face hole are things like, oh, well, at least you don't. Well, as long as it's not. Like, I'm triggered just saying them out loud. Nobody needs sympathy in those spaces. They don't need that. They need the empathy. They need to go, yeah, that sounds like that sucks. Sounds like that's a massive weight on your brain. Sounds like it's a hard thing to go through. You don't even have to hold it. You don't even have to say, I know a time when, and align with it and carry any of that weight. Simply to acknowledge that they have a weight, take some of it away. You don't have to absorb any through sympathy, through taking that empathy into yourself, which I know a lot of empaths are going to be watching this and feeling this, because you can't help but feel those things. But you don't have to own them. You are allowed to hear them, reflect them, and let them go. In modeling that, and this is where I want to empower people. Now, again, Ollie's already said it. Simple, it's simple, but not easy. Same way knowledge is power, but not transformation, because it takes that repetition to get it. But it is as simple as modeling how to say this is happening, and not taking it on yourself shows them that they can also have these things happen to them, and they don't have to internalize it. What happens to us shapes us, but does not define us, because that last choice says less about you than the next one. And when you make this next one, it still says less about you than the one after it. Okay? So empathy over sympathy, really allowing to validate those feelings, highlight and acknowledge them, but not internalize them yourself, or even encourage them to internalize it. You know, again, this is where that language in my brain has changed. No longer do we have to go through the things, we can go along with them. We get to go side by side in our life. Okay, practical supports. Here we get to the really good ones. This is the juicy bit. How am I doing on time? I'm doing okay, right? Yes. So I'll brush. We'll get through this. Okay.
I totally get the rest. You have, it looks like 4.5 more minutes. You're about good. You're solid. Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so this is the really critical stuff. These are the real tangible tools. So we've aligned. I'm seeing all the nods. I'm seeing the agreements in the comments. Yes, so this is all tracking. It's all making sense. It's simple. It's doable. I mean, it's going to take work, but we got there. So here are some of the ways you can do that. First, acknowledge the reality of that death. Whether they died and whether they attempted or committed the suicide and completed it, or if they attempted it and did not complete, right? Either way, there's still a death. There's a death of who they were all the way through. So for us, for them, whichever, whether it is you attempting and completing or somebody else in your life doing that, acknowledging the death of what was is really, really important, because you can't move forward to what next if you don't look at what now. And embrace that loss. Really make space for it. Listen to it. I always think of Khalil Gibran and the Prophet when I think about pain and loss, because I cannot imagine anybody ever saying it better than your joys are your sorrows unmasked. And the only, I would have cried just thinking about it, right? The only reason you can hurt so much is because you loved so much. It carved a pathway to carry that. So embrace that. Allow that love and that loss together, because they are hand in hand. You literally right now, death and life are happening inside your cells in tandem at all times. So to imagine that they are separate is to try and separate yourself. And we have enough of that in the world. You don't need it. So let that go and embrace that. And then spend time remembering who was. All of the good, all of the bad, all of the nuances, spending time remembering. I found this particularly hard after my brother's loss. It was almost as though every thought of him outside of the corpse was erased from my brain for a long period of time. It took intentional effort of going back and looking at videos, going back and looking at stories, listening to his voice to bring him back into my brain so that I didn't have just this one line of who he was. And the more I did that, the easier it was to embrace that loss, acknowledge the death, and figure out that next step. What is my new identity without him? In a space of suicide, what is your new identity now that you've come to this other side? That person no longer exists. Something happened, and now we are different. Whether it's a traumatic thing or a dramatic thing, either way, you are now different, and you need to develop and gift yourself time to find out who is this person that I am now settled to for the little rest of my life. Me. And what do I want that to look like? So look for that meaning. That's the fifth. So in steps: 1, acknowledge the death. 2, embrace the pain of the loss. 3, remember the person that died. 4, develop a new self-identity. And then 5, search for that meaning. Why did that matter? Why does it matter? Why does it hurt so much? What is the joy that came from that? Find the meaning in it. And oftentimes death feels so meaningless, but even if it is just to force you to appreciate that life is short, that's a big gift. That's a huge gift. For me, it felt like a gauntlet dropped in my lap. My brother did not understand how other people loved him so much because he could never do that for himself, and it made him feel less than. And I never wanted anyone else to do that. So if he couldn't live with that weight, it was my job to make sure other people didn't have to live with that weight. Now, he did not say that, but I felt that, and it gave me such purpose and such meaning to celebrate him and celebrate that loss. So I say things like, he died beautifully, and I have learned more from his death, as much from his death as I did during his life. And it is such a gift constantly to me. And I would change it in a heartbeat if I could, but I accept it and I appreciate the lessons from it. And then receive that ongoing support. So number 6 is let people help you and continue to let them help you. And it's really hard. I want to validate that so much, because if you are the person who is thinking of taking themselves out of this life, you don't want that. You don't want that burden on somebody else. You don't want that weight. You don't want to feel like a drain. And when you are processing through grief, your brain goes to that same pathway. I don't want to be a weight. I don't want to be, they're tired of hearing me talk about it. And maybe they are. Those people aren't going to keep showing up. So don't worry about it. The people who are there want to know. They want to be with you. So let them. And a mindset shift on that is think about how you feel when somebody says, hey, I really need you for something. It's you that could help me. And that I could be something for you experience. Every time somebody reaches out to you and you say no, you're denying them that joy. So gift that joy to yourself and them, and let the support happen and receive that ongoing support. Okay, I'm coming close to the end here. I'm going to tie up these last bullet points so fast. So boundaries and self-care. What I really want to talk about here is just one statement. We do not create boundaries for other people. We create them for ourselves with the understanding they are going to be crossed. And this is a weird space and a weird thing to say, because we usually say, I have a boundary and I can't believe you crossed it. But unless you are walking around with a list of your boundaries and holding it out in front of you for everyone to see everywhere you go, those are in your head and nobody else sees them. So when we set that boundary, it's for us to know how we're going to behave when that boundary is crossed, because it's gonna. But it's not about them. It's about our ability to do what we're going to do when that happens. Cool, that boundary was crossed. I'm not comfortable with that. I'm going to remove myself. Hey, that boundary was crossed. I need to tell you that that is a boundary for me. And then if you decide to do that again, I'm taking myself out of the situation. It's not an ultimatum. It's not even about them. It's about me, my needs, and what I'm going to do. So re-empower your boundaries and assume they're going to be crossed. Just assume that. So what are you going to do to protect you when that happens? Okay. And then that long-term and professional support. We're talking normalizing support, which bless Randi and Tobi for running this, because that's this. The Courage Book teaser is absolutely around normalizing all of that. So we want that to be the most normal. If we want to flip the script from illness to wellness, we have to normalize support in doing that, because it's not modeled. We need people to model that. And we need to talk about it in 6 months, in 1 year, in 4 years, in 7 years, because it comes up just when you're like, I've processed, I've done, I am done, been healed. And then your body remembers, and that day comes by again, and suddenly you're in bed like, why am I so tired and worthless and capable and not able? Oh, and you look at the calendar and you're like, shit, it's been a decade, but my body still remembers. Whew. Okay, what are we processing at this level? And that is actually a good thing. That means that you are leveling up, and it feels sometimes like you're chasing your tail, but if you stop to celebrate, you can see the mountain that you are climbing, right? And if you need support, you don't just have to go to a therapist. You have this entire room. Every person here is getting it. So reach out to us, and I'm going to leave it at that.
Well, thank you so much, Kara. That was amazing, enlightening, and I just love listening to you speak. I'm completely honest. So that being said, while you were speaking, I was reading all these responses in the chat, and I gotta say, I really love a lot of the insights that you are sharing in the chat, you guys. Like, this is amazing. And I love all of the interaction. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Um, that It's very tricky. No, I totally appreciate that. I was actually going to say that community and natural therapy, natural healing is they are two of the highlights of my book that I was gonna wait for. It's okay. After Crystal. So before I introduce Crystal's topic, I did want to share with you the purpose for me starting the organization that I have been building for the last decade. It's actually a little bit of a painful story, so I'm sorry if I get a little. Um, when I was about to finish high school, I was on the phone with some friends. I was about to go up to my old hometown and go visit some old friends and family. And one of them informed me that a childhood friend of mine that I had known since the third grade took his life. Um, he's the reason that I do all of this. He is my inspiration for a lot of things. When we were kids, he used to try and dig a hole to China in his backyard. That's how stubborn he was. He thought it would happen. He was determined. As a teenager, he was, always camping and in the woods. But unfortunately, like we all have seen, experienced, whatever, he was alone in his soul. He was alone, and he didn't think he had a way out. I would like to, before Crystal speaks, I would like to just take a moment of silence. And I would like to just send some love to all of the people that have inspired us to be here today. Crystal, you came on to this project late. You were introduced to this project after the fact. You were thrown into my lap and told me this person needs to speak. She's amazing. Do the thing. And I have learned so much from you just in the last 2 weeks. So, Crystal's here to talk about the hardest part of Suicide Awareness Month. And that is what happens after suddenly there's a person no longer in your life. So, if this part of the conversation is triggering or painful for anybody, you will not be judged for stepping away at any point. But I do want to offer a trigger warning that this part might be a little sensitive. Crystal, let's talk about what happens after the worst possible thing imagined.
I do want to make one comment. For some reason, I cannot see anything in the chat, so it's not that I'm ignoring it. For some reason, I got kicked out of the chat. I don't know why, when I had left and come back in. So I have not been able to see any of the wonderful comments you guys are talking about. Just putting that out there. I'm not ignoring anybody. I just legitimately, for some reason, can't see them. So with that being said, for those of you that don't know me, I am a domestic abuse awareness speaker, coach, author, dot, 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 dot. I really have to come up with an acronym. Toby and I have talked about this before. But like I said in the beginning of this, I wanted to take part in this because myself, Ollie, and a few people that are here, we all lost a very, very dear friend last August 3rd to be exact. And we have all been trying to support each other. And it's hard. We each of us recognized signs and reached out. And one of the hardest things when you do see the signs and you reach out and you try to let that person know that they are loved, that they are needed, that they're not a burden, is not blaming yourself and thinking, what could I have done more? Because honestly, when somebody makes that choice, that final decision, they do put a lot of thought into it. Of They weigh the pros and cons of how their family's going to feel, how they're going to take it, but they're in such amount of pain that it just doesn't matter anymore. They don't want to burden their family anymore. The pros in their mind outweigh trying to make it one more day. It's just so hard. Um, like Randy said, she has attempted. Um, I attempted twice. Once it was God's interference that I survived. I was 18, had gone through a lot, and found my mom's bottle of volume. My parents were on vacation, and we always had vodka in the house. And I took bottle of vodka and bottle of volume and slept for 3 days. Obviously, wasn't meant to go. And then Christmas of 2019, I really wanted the pain to stop. I wanted to be with my dad. I couldn't take it anymore. And the only thing that stopped me, and I still actually have a scar on my wrist, was I heard my children playing. And all I could think was, I can't leave them with this monster. Not that I wanted to see him grow up. None of it. I can't leave them with him. Now, yes, I have done a lot of healing. I'm no longer in that space in any way. Okay. But, and obviously I'm meant to be here for bigger reasons, but I understand what my friend was thinking when it happened, because I was in such immense pain that all I could think was I wanted it to stop. I wanted to be with my dad, who passed away 19 years ago. I wanted to be with my loved ones that were gone, because I was in so much emotional, mental, physical pain constantly that I couldn't keep going. Now, knowing that, having been in those shoes, I don't feel it's a coward's way out. And I know a lot of other people don't either, because you have to imagine the amount of pain that they're in to make that choice. So once that happens, yes, grieve them, but don't blame them. That is one of the biggest things in supporting each other, because nobody is to blame. Once that choice is made, all you can do is support the ones that are left behind and love each other, you know, and remember, your friend, your loved one, they wouldn't want you wallowing. They would want you to celebrate their lives for what they were and to live yours. They made that choice partially because they didn't want to burden anybody anymore. Now, yes, if you see the signs, try to make them see that they're not a burden, that they are loved, that they're needed. That's one of the biggest things. You can't fix them, and that's a big thing. Everyone's, oh, well, if I had been there, I could have fixed it. I could have made them better. No, they have to be able to make themselves better. All you can do is support them, show them love, make them understand that they're not a burden to you, that you want to be there to be by their side, not pushing them, not pulling them, but support them in love. And that's all we can do for each other after the fact, is, just being there, holding that space, holding their hand, even if it's virtual. you know um Ollie and I have had chats where we literally just talk about chocolate and silly things. We don't talk about anything serious. you know Toby and I have done the same thing. We've just kind of chit chatted over nothing. But sometimes just holding that space and just being there is all the healing that someone needs. You know, that's all the love that they need to understand, hey, it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be happy and silly and giddy. All of these things are normal emotions that we should be allowed to feel. And like you were saying earlier, Kara, stand next to, just have them. You know, don't feel guilty because you're angry. You know, I was angry when my father was taken from me in a motorcycle accident. I was, and 19 years later, I still get mad at him for dying on me too soon. And you know what? That's okay. I still love him. And I will always love my friend that passed away. All of my friends. I mean, from the beginning of COVID up until August 3rd, I've lost 9 friends to just suicide. I've lost 28 people from the end of 2019 till now. That's just in that 5 year. And yet I'm still standing, loving them from here. Because that's the best way that we can support each other and our own mental health and everything. Because the ones that we love, they never really leave us. They're always here. You know, my slogan branding is coaching the Phoenix, together we rise. Well, you know, Phoenix is somebody reborn. That's what the symbol stands for, is being reborn. Just because they pass away doesn't mean they're gone. They're just a phoenix rising in another way. And they're helping me rise, helping Ollie rise, helping Andy, who is my adopted daughter, actually, is Andy. And Kayla is a very close friend of mine. I'm very, very happy to see a lot of people that love and support me come to this. The YouTube channel comments are actually pretty good too, just to let you know, Randy. I've been paying attention. And my friend Roger, I mean, we've got people that are coming in and supporting us because they believe in what we're doing. And that right there is one of the best things. This is a heavy subject. Suicide awareness is big. I mean, at the beginning of that music video, at the very beginning, Ava Under Fire um, stated that over 400,000 people a year, just in the US, commit suicide. It is the number 10th ranked cause of death. And that's just the United States. And that was a year ago. Pretty sure the statistics have changed, unfortunately. And that's really sad. I always say, if we treat everybody with kindness, how much better the world would be. Just a simple smile, a hello, could literally save a life because it makes somebody feel like they're seen. I do it all the time at the grocery store. I'll say hi to a random person, comment on their cool hair color or cool t-shirt or whatever, and it makes them smile. Something simple like that could literally save a life, and you'd never know. And how hard is it to do? That is how we can support each other and everybody else. Just those simple acts of kindness. A hello, opening a door. So just being present for each other, whether it's a stranger on the street or your best friend that lives next door. When they're in pain or when they're not, just being there for each other. That's the biggest way that we can support each other, especially when we lose a loved one. Like you were saying, Kara, empathy. People don't want sympathy of, oh, poor you. No, they just want you to hold their hand and say, I'm here. what do you need? You know, just sitting with somebody is more than enough in those moments. I hated it when people said, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss," when I lost my dad. It's like, yeah, me too. You know, the ones that just kind of hung out with me, shared stories about him, that was more that was the perfect thing. Sharing those funny stories, celebrating life when you lose someone instead of grieving and being angry. That's the best thing you can do, is celebrating their lives and continuing to live your own with the knowing that they do love you. You know, when someone makes that choice to take their own life, it's not because they don't love you. Just because they can't keep going. They don't want to burden anyone else anymore. They've had enough, and that's all. They do. And a lot of times it's because they love their family and their friends so much and they don't want to burden them that they make that choice. So, not sure where we are on time, but I'm sorry. My topic was the heavy one, unfortunately.
Amazing and beautiful, and you did great. And actually, you're perfect. You are 2 minutes under, so I'm happy to segue on so we can maybe lighten the mood a little bit and take it back. Hey, hey, we're not barking. We're not. You are. Yeah. Um. Yes, Jacoby, you are 100% correct. And yes, Ollie, I do see you with your hand up, and I will get to you in just like 2 seconds. Um. But yeah, Toby, what you're saying is 100% correct. That we struggle as individuals because we are told by other people this, that, and the other thing. But when you have a community that is willing to look past what you consider to be a weakness or whatever, and they praise you for that weakness, suddenly you don't feel weak anymore. I am actually going to ask Ollie to speak really quick because I have actually had the chance to speak with Ollie on LinkedIn. We had an amazing conversation about the language around suicide, and he was making a few comments in the chat. So Ollie, I would like you to try to keep it maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes is fine. But let's hear from Ollie about the language behind suicide awareness and why it is so important that we are careful and mindful with the language that we use. You should be good there, Ollie. I think you can chat. Are we see? Oh, there you
Hear
go.
me?
Go ahead.
Yes,
Yes, we
thank
Hello,
you
can
so
see
my
you
much.
now.
roll, my Ollie ravioli.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy to talk even 5 minutes for a long summit event. What I would like to share is that I wonder during my whole life why I'm still alive, because I was probably thinking about suicide, but I was never making this act of doing it. But at some point, I was so desperate. It includes when I was not understanding what was going on with my mom when I was a child, and then when my mom passed away, spread her wings, like I want to say, to deal with a foreign environment in the boarding school for 2 years without any intimacy, me trying to regulate myself, but with a lot of jokes and bullying with others. I wonder why I'm still alive. But I think I was shutting off. One of my mechanisms was to shut off and to be a kind of, and I still think I still have some autistic traits, but it was my way to cope with that. And it's for me, the power of words are really important. And also I acknowledge that you might have another opinion than me. For me, it's even if it's intentional, it's not a crime. And for me, when I hear they commit crime, they commit aggression. But it's also about the words that we say to ourselves, and that's why right now there are some times where I was a bit like depressed, and now I try more and more to heal myself through powerful readings and listenings, like Louise Hay. And what is amazing is that even if people are not anymore alive, whether they are dead naturally or accident or suicide, they can have an impact in the world years and decades after. Like Louise Hay was 7 years ago, her life was ending. And there was also someone that impacted me. I was attending him for an evening, just an evening, and I was impacted for life. And then his life was ended by accident. He was diving, and his friend was out, but not him. And I had powerful moments during his ceremony because he was Jewish, and talking about Hanukkah and the light. And for me, it's all about the gatherings that we can live. But at the same time, there are people that have bad gatherings, and this is why they are going low and low. My uncle was having a heart attack 17 years ago, and he was 49 years old, and he had bad gatherings. So I think the environment plays a huge role when it comes to mental health, and there are too many people that are taking their lives just because they are in that kind of environment, and they are not seeing any possibility, any solution possibility to their issues or to what they are living. So it's really and it's not the way I decided to go to new language coaching is about the language, but also to elevating people. Because I think also when this topic could be also lighting up like an hot air balloon, if we allow ourselves to let go all the less of all the things that are hinder our elevation. And so we need more love, LOVE and LAUGH, more laughing. We need more jokes. We need more to feel that people matters, where they are, to meet them at their own space. And that's why, because we are all unique, and what works with you might not works with another person. So, but when we take the time, the space to light up others, then they feel empowered. And last but not least, I would say the last thing. There was this anecdote. I don't know if it was true or not, but was Mother Teresa and a baby. And this baby was ready to die because this baby was not finding the love that this baby was seeking for. And then Mother Teresa was taking this baby and was making some affection to this baby, and this baby survived. So I think the most human essence of our life is to feel, I love to use this acronym, SEAL, SEAL, to feel seen, to feel empowered, to feel acknowledged, and to feel loved. And that's why it's really important to do at our own capacity. And that's why also loving ourselves is even more important than loving others. So, and I don't think it's a checkbox. I still have to work on it to love me again. I love, for instance, the song of Elton John. I'm gonna love me again. Checking on my very best friend, find a wind to fill my sails, rise above the broken rails. And so that's my share, and I'm now yielding the mic, but I'm still there if you want me other shares. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ollie. And I'm really glad that you were able to share today because specifically we had the conversation last weekend about terminology and how empowering or disempowering words can be. I believe Tobi actually spoke about it in her event, her 3-week event. She talks a lot about how the words that we use, even with ourselves, can be either empowering or disempowering, and we can change our own energy flows just based on how our thoughts come to us and how we embrace the negativity or reject the negativity. So before I jump into the courage box, I do have a couple minutes. I would love, 1 second, Crystal. I would love for if Tobi can give us a quick overview of empowering words and how important they are in self-talk and self-love.
Honestly, all I was going to say is that words do actually have power. You know, a lot of us are very into the what people call woo woo. You know, magic does exist, and there is power in our words. You know, and that was actually what my thought was. It was leading into what Tobi's about to say, and I have a feeling she knew that's where I was going.
Perhaps Thank you so much, Toby. And I really wanted to reiterate um, a, a lot of the things that you said during that event, but really the one that stuck the most with it, it's very spoke very loud, about how no matter how you are feeling about yourself, do not put those words out into the world. It just lowers your energy, and it there's a quote that I absolutely love, and it is, lying requires a lot of commitment, even more commitment when lying to yourself. And just imagine all that energy that you're taking out of your daily life trying to lie to yourself, saying, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. What is honestly the harm in just accepting I'm not okay right this minute? Right this minute, my life is overwhelming. Right this minute, you know, this is a lot for me, and I don't know how to cope with that. That is healthier in the long run than telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail, I'm sliding backwards, I'm spiraling, blah blah blah. Like Kara was trying to explain, there is a difference between awareness and suffering. You can be aware of what you are going through, you can embrace it, you can sit with it, you can get to know it, but you don't have to let yourself start despising existence because what you're sitting with is painful or is too overwhelming. Hi, hello, yes, I see you. Sorry, my dog decided she wanted all of the attention. But another important thing that Kara brought up was, when you have just one reason to live, you have everything in your life that you need to survive. I'm sorry, Ollie, I do have to move forward, but we are going to have a roundtable here in a moment. It's time that I've been waiting for. Here's the point. I mean, I can't deny that. Okay, so for Suicide Awareness Month, I put together what I call the Courage Care Box, and it has some awesome little things that we as neurospicy adults can appreciate and love, because I mean, let's be real with each other. Like, we're all kind of kids on the inside, right? Yeah. First of all, dropping things. We have a copy of my book that will be signed, by the way. The link is in the comments. So this will be signed for everybody. And then with that, we have a little stress relief baggie. Now, this is my favorite thing in the world. We've got some earplugs, right? Because it's so easy to get overstimulated in life. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, I have to put my headphones on just to do homework sometimes. I don't even turn sound on. I just put my headphones on so my boyfriend thinks I'm listening to something and then he stops talking. It's fantastic. So this little guy right here, this is a little, I know I'm cracking Tobi. This is a little bouncy thing. It's actually like a spring. It's like squishy. So for those of us that like slinkies, this is like a tiny mini slinky that you can push down and it just like leaps away. It's the greatest thing if you have small animals that like to chase things. Hours of entertainment, let me tell you. We also have a bubble one because bubbles are the coolest thing ever. This little guy right here, he is the cutest thing I have ever seen. This is the stretchiest toy ever. It's like Gumby. You remember what Gumby would back in the 80s, 90s? It's like a tiny Gumby. He is the cutest little guy. He's stretchy. You can like, you can do whatever you want. Okay, and then the final thing, you can't really see. There's a sticker back here. This is called a sensory sticker. Now, this sticker is actually really, really interesting because not only does it have calming techniques printed directly on the sticker, it's textured. So it's sensory safe. You can put it on the back of your phone, right? And then when you get anxious, you just have that little sensory moment. It's amazing. When I was putting all of these together, I had one next to me and I was just fiddling with it half of the time because they feel really cool. Now, because this is a workbook, it's a journal, I wanted to make sure everybody had a little pen and a little side journal. So everybody will get a little side journal with a pen and then this awesome little handmade bracelet. And then the best part, a stress ball. Yeah, everybody in the world needs a stress ball. I don't care who you are. I don't care how old you are. You need a stress ball. They also have, please excuse my language, but they also have this really cool toy called a Damn It doll. And it was designed to grab by the legs and bash against things. It's the coolest thing in the world. My boyfriend has one. He loves it. So what? He loves it so much. He plays with it all. And he'll be sitting at the table and he'll just be like fiddling with his little Damn It doll. And if one of my dogs is irritating him, he'll like shake it at them, like, get away from me. Yeah, it's the funniest thing in the world. So, tear boxes are limited time only. They're only going to be available once a year. I have 20 of them. I did post a link in the chat. They are $25 each, and that covers the cost of the book and shipping. So everything else in the box is free. So you pay for the book and shipping, and then you get all of the cool stuff for free. Okay, that's a pretty awesome deal. Also, if you are unable to purchase the full 25 and you would like to just donate to my organization, I am doing a raffle. If I can get 5 or more donations of $5, then I will do a raffle and one of you amazing donators will get a free care box just for being amazing and showing up because I love you all. Now, this is actually my favorite part of the event is I would like to invite anybody who would like to share their story. This is the time where we all come together as a community and we're going to listen to each other's stories and we're going to share unconditional love, support, and validation because the biggest issue that comes with feeling lonely is not having validation. So right now, I am going to allow anybody that they want to. If you would like to raise your hand and speak, I can bring you up. You can speak. If not, do one of our amazing speakers want to share their survival story. I see Kara and I see Crystal and I see hesitation.
Well, I just want to validate something that was in the comments, that because I, after I got done talking, then I had to go back up and relook at all of the comments again. And I just wanted, in a space of validation, to absolutely validate how challenging it is to accept support when you are in a place where you don't feel you deserve support. So yes. Yeah, that is when we talk about, Ollie said it, simple ain't easy, right? Because you're going to have to do it, and you're going to have to do it when you don't think you deserve it, when you don't think it's right, but you do deserve it, and it is right. And if you have to do that need a wee switch, then remember that you're gifting that ability to somebody else. You're giving them that gift of being able to support you. And I know that the joy of being able to do that for somebody else. So even if you don't feel that you deserve it, if all you can do is believe that they do, lean into that.
Before I completely jump ahead, I did want to say one thing about my book. So Kara has read it and she has given me such amazing feedback. Courage is actually an acronym. Ollie, the reason I was picking on you earlier is because I live my life around courage. Courage is my word. Courage is it is what I build my life on. But in my life, courage is an acronym and it comes with different steps. The first step is to create an identity, and that is to live who you are every single moment of the day. Step 2 is open the line, talk to people, always talk it out. Do not walk away if you are angry, because it's literally going to get you nowhere except angry. And what is that? Whatever. And then the third step is user created life. Use your imagination, use that brain, use that amazing experience that you have, and create your existence every single day. Reinvent home. I don't think I have to explain that. We live in communities. We should be part of the community. We should be embracing our communities. We should be bringing them together. Alive and growing. I always have to look back at it because I know all of them in my head, and I'm just alive and growing. Put your fingers or your toes in the dirt and go feel the heartbeat of our planet. I can't even tell you how much closer to yourself you're going to feel if you just go sit under a tree for 20 minutes. Well, let's see. We're going for G, gear up. This is something that Crystal and I had a little bit of a conversation about, and that is self-protection in a growing digital world. Now, because of COVID, obviously we don't go outside as much as we used to. We should be, but I understand. But when you're not going outside, you're online, you're in your home, you're isolating, and all that isolation is really, really scary, and it can be really detrimental to your health. So when you gear up, you want to gear up for all of safety. You want to make sure your entire existence is within your safe zone. The final step of courage is to embrace the new. This is personally my favorite step of courage because I actually have a degree in world cultures, psychology with a minor in world cultures. And I absolutely love learning about different cultural experiences and different traditions. And that's actually what my next event is going to be for. I'm hosting a heritage festival where I want everyone to come share their background and come share their traditions. And I want everyone to throw all of their beliefs out there and just have this big community party. So that is courage. Those are my steps of courage. It's seven steps. Each piece of the book you want to take a whole week on. You don't want to run through it. You want to really let it sit with you. There's a hard concept whenever you're dealing with your own mental health that, like Kara was saying, you just want to walk through it. You don't want to actually sit with it, get to know it, and understand it. Kara, what was your experience with the Courage book?
So I just wanted to validate that last point so hard, because I do a lot of these workbooks and these reflections, and I will do 7 assessments in a day, right? I'm so healed. I tried to go through 2 sections in the same day, and the mental weight backlash that I experienced from that, as my brain tried to take those little neuro babies and create little neuro pathways, and then give yourself a week. Okay, when Randi says give yourself a week, what she means is maybe 2. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess I'll have to put that on version 2. But she does have a point. Sitting with yourself and sitting with your own brain is really hard. We're not taught these things when we're in school anymore. We're not taught to just sit with our creativity. We're not taught to just sit under a tree and absorb the sunshine. You know, a lot of these things are concepts that haven't been taught for, I think, over 100 years now. And it's really scary to see how far just human nature has really, really started to struggle. And I honestly, I truthfully believe that if you focus on different aspects of wellness without trying to leap into the whole concept and just dive into the ocean, you're definitely going to swim a lot easier if you tiptoe in on the beach. Let's just be real about that. Um, so I would like really to start off the roundtable sharing. I would like to hear from my lovely co-host. Um, how did you manage to build yourself back up after such struggle? And you know, you have such an amazing, spiritually powerful story, Tobi. And I feel like the audience here would honestly, you know, they would find a lot of value in it. Where when you were sitting there and you were being told that all of these things were going to happen and you had no control, how did you convince yourself to take back control? It's very, very hard. It's very challenging. Thank you so much, Toby. I feel like that was very enlightening. There were quite a few ears that needed to hear that today. I actually saw a hand go up by Bethany, and I did put you on stage. You are welcome to unmute as you feel free. Bethany, what did you want to chat with us about today?
Well, you might have to excuse the rain sounds or toddler sounds in the background. It just stopped hailing. So I was like, I actually put my hand up to say, hey, I got booted out of the chat. And so I'm like, I'm still here. There I am.
Oh, you're
But it's like, I've noticed the universe has been nudging me more towards being myself lately. And so I thought, well, okay, I didn't intend to share my story, but maybe I need to. Because I hit that palm and I actually went to turn it off. And then you, Randy, you said, I see you, Bethany. And I went, oh, man, now I actually have to share.
then clearly the universe is calling for you to share. So I think it's your turn.
And I mean, I feel like this whole entire session is like I needed to be here. I'm sorry. I'm a very emotional person, which drives me crazy because it's hard for me to express clearly when I'm emotional. And so I'll shunt. The visual I had when I was younger was I have a well in the center of my soul. So I stick big emotions in there and I cap it. And every once in a while, it blows up like a volcano. But my experience with suicide started when I was 14. And this boy, who was my older brother's best friend, I had a crush on him. He had a smile that would light up the world. And he was in high school. I was in junior high, and he would rescue me that fall semester of 1996. He rescued me twice, and I have a fear of being lost. It freaks me out. And he literally found me and took me to people who cared about me. And then there was a day in late December when my mom is taking my little brother and I to pick up my older brother from school, and she said, you have to be really nice to your big brother today because his friend Brian just committed suicide. He took a gun to school and shot himself. And I remember turning to look out the window and closing my eyes, and the next memory I have was apparently 6 months later. And I opened my eyes and I'm sitting in my room looking out my window at the trees and the sunset, and I was like, I woke up. And I have no memories from that time. My mom said I spent the whole rest of that school year saying, he couldn't have done this. We have to find who did this to him. And she was like, no, sweetie, he made that choice. She figured from his behaviors, he was probably unmedicated bipolar. And his girlfriend had just broken up with him, and he felt he was alone. And I was apparently really angry about it. It's like, I loved him. I would have loved him, and he didn't even know. But I was like, I was his best friend's baby sister. He didn't even know me. And so I thought, I don't have the right to grieve because he wasn't my friend. So I stuffed and stuffed and stuffed. And there was one point when I couldn't keep it in. So I went out to the old RV in the back of the driveway and closed the door and plugged my ears and screamed at the top of my lungs. It's the only time in my life I've been able to scream on command. I shut my eyes and tried to let it out. And when I opened my eyes, the 3 cats that we had were on the windshield. Are you okay? And it cracked me up. I was like, all right, I should stop scaring the animals now. But my mom, aside from the comments that I had in that time frame, that time is still lost. I'm going to be 42 in 3 weeks, and I still can't remember anything from the first 6 months after Brian died. But aside from the comments I made, she had no idea how deep this pain was for me, because I hadn't until then known anyone who died. All my grandparents were still around at that point. All my friends were okay, and I was from a loving Christian home. So many of my friends were in abusive situations or from families going through divorce, and I was like, oh, I'm so lucky with my family. And then this was like real life smack across the face. And I couldn't deal with it, so I didn't deal with it. And then there were times, like Kara was saying, you know, a day comes your body remembers and you're suddenly right in the midst of it again. Like in college, we had to write this. I had a poetry class and we had to write a psalm of lament. And apparently I wrote it about Brian. And then I typed, you know, I hand wrote it because that's what I do. And then I typed it up, I turned it in, and then I glued the pages together in my notebook and just kept going. Forgot about it until decades later when I was looking in this closet in my old bedroom and I was like, oh, it's an old notebook of mine. And then I'm like, these pages are sticky. That's weird. I peeled them apart and I was like, why didn't I tear them out or tear them up? I hid them from even myself. It was bizarre. And so I'm like, I need to deal with it. I'm trying to find a counselor here, but I do remember thinking if my older brother ever followed suit and died, not just, you know, took his life, but died, I was like, he and I were 18 months apart. We were best friends growing up. And I was like, I couldn't exist if he wasn't in the world. So I made a plan. I was like, well, I'm not going to be able to use a gun like Brian did because I might miss and injure myself. And that's not the point. And I actually tried an overdose with pills at one point, and all I did was made myself sick, thankfully. So I was like, that's not going to work. My teenage mind came up with, I'll go to the Grand Canyon, find a really high point and jump off and just splat at the bottom. And I'm like, that's ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure people fall from great heights, yes, but the fact that was my plan if my brother ever died. I told that to my mom years and years later after the urge had passed. And it's like, actually, my older brother and I don't communicate very often anymore. So it's strange now to look back on that angst in my teenage mind. It was like, I can't live without him. And I'm like, I only see him 3 times a year now. But she was horrified. I can't believe you'd even consider that. And I was like, well, I kind of more than considered it. But the very fact that you can't understand it, that you actually believe it's a sin, that you're so judgy. She's a loving, wonderful woman, but there are a couple of areas in which I don't talk about things with her anymore because it's like, we just won't go there. And my depression issues are one of them because we disconnect, and a disconnection with my own mother makes me feel as though the problem is with me, which it's not. I mean, it might be. I don't know. But, you know, as was it Tobi was saying, when you speak it out into the world, the problem is with me. I am making the problem with me. I was like, yes. And I got bumped out of the chat. So I couldn't chat in there to go, yes, Tobi, that's exactly right. I have literally experienced that, where my own words are causing my own suffering. But I didn't think about the fact that I can then use my words to get me out of it too. I would spiral and spiral and spiral and feel so alone. And I'm like, you know, if I can dig myself a hole with my words, I can use them as a pickaxe to climb back out. So, yay, I'm saying all of this now, sir.
Totally. You are 100% right, Bethany. And you have all of us sitting here like clapping and cheering for you. Yes. There is nothing that you cannot get out of. Okay. Anything that you get yourself into, you can get out. Sometimes you have to think backwards. Sometimes you have to, you know, twist things upside down and throw them at the wall a couple times. But you know what? Even cooked pasta sticks at the wall. All right. So, like, we don't. It's very important for everyone to remember when they're in that moment. Like, I know the moment sucks, and I know that it feels like there's literally nothing else in the world that you would rather do than just stop breathing. But if you actually take 2 seconds and you look around the room and you go, I did that, I did that, I did that, and you keep, I know that the word keeping score is a terrible, terrible term, but when you remember all of the good that you've done for yourself and you build all of that up for yourself, then you build your own barriers against all of the negativity, and that negativity can't even touch you because you're just surrounding yourself with light and positivity and love. And anybody who tries to insult you, you look at them and you just go, "That's cute. Thank you. All right, whatever." Like, I mean, their hatred, their anxiety, their anger should not ever reflect on you. It should always be reflected.
I would. Mhm. Yeah. I would also like to, after you're done, Toby, I'd like to actually say something to Bethany as well. Mhm. Um, well, Bethany, I can empathize about being kicked out of the chat because me too. Um, um, Number one, I wanted to recommend the book The Body Keeps the Score for you. It's an amazing mental health book. I even got the workbook. I'll own it. Um, and also, there's nothing wrong with making yourself a brag board. Ollie and I have been going through a class together, and that's one of the things that we were actually was part of our homework was to build a brag board about ourselves. Am I right, Ollie? um, and it is to celebrate our accomplishments and to remind ourselves of the good things that we're doing, whether it's something as simple as, um, not taking to heart what someone says, not reacting to something, or, gaining a new position, finishing that chapter in a book that we're writing in. Ollie, by the way, I loved your chapter for Rebel Without a Cause. The finish was amazing. Um, just bragging about ourselves is not a bad thing. I just wanted to put that out there. And you're right. It isn't you that has the problem. Your mom fails to see who you are. And yes, I see you raising your hand. Okay.
I'm sorry, somebody just came to the door, so I have to step away for a moment. But I so much appreciate all you guys' love and validation.
Yes. And
Thank you,
supporting all of us
Bethany.
in this summit. Yes, thank you. We all appreciate you. And you're beautiful. And when my dad did pass away, I thought exactly like that. I wanted to follow him because he was my best friend. So I do understand what you were thinking when you were younger about your brother because of that closeness. So no, you're not wrong in that. Thankfully, nothing ever happened. And you're here to bless us with your beautiful presence. But you're allowed to feel however you feel, and that is yours. Own it. Your mom has no right to tell you whether that's right or wrong. We all are entitled to our feelings, whether somebody else agrees with them or not. That's on them. We are entitled to feel that. Okay.
I love that one, Ollie, by the way. Oli. I'm sorry, I have a friend whose name is Oli, O-L-E. So it's
he's my Ollie, my French.
But I'm
Thank
still
you.
listening. I just have to step away for a moment.
Absolutely. I just wanted to validate
Thank
you
you,
and let you
Bethany.
know it's not you, it's your mom.
No, I just unless we are wrapping up.
Yeah, so I was actually going to say we actually ran 5 minutes over, but that tells me that we were having a good conversation, so I'm totally okay with this. But it is time for us to say goodbye. I will be on LinkedIn next month, October 6th. We are going to have a chat about putting your hands in the soil and soul. Oh, I totally, yes, getting that link right now. Give me just a second. My internet's not liking me today. But would my lovely speakers and co-hosts, would you all please say your goodbyes. Ollie, yes, I will let you go first because you seem like you need to say something.
Yes, it's thank you for sharing, and we need more shares. We need more spaces where we are able to listen to each other, because it took me more than 30 years to say something that I was keeping for myself for more than 30 years. To, as an adolescent, to sadly end the life of a canary bird, and I was able to share that in a space where there were no shame, no judgment. So we need more spaces where we are able to share our emotions. All what we share is valid. There is no good or bad. And when it's not shared, it could be accumulating, causing people to harm, or people to harm their own lives. So we have to provide mental health spaces where every voice matters. And so it's all that I would like to say. Also, sharing a quote: walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, for your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone. That's from Jerry in the Peacemakers, by the way. So that's it. Keep shining, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, I would just validate everything that happened today. What an incredible space, Randy. Thank you so much for creating it. Toby, thank you so much for holding this. I love everyone here. This was amazing, and I would offer a tool. So I think Ollie is 100% right. We need more of these spaces where people can have these conversations, and I get to promote the empathy circle in this space. So this is an amazing community that wants to blanket the world in empathy, and they have a system of circular listening that allows you to speak and be heard without judgment, without additives, with simply somebody reflecting back and fully hearing you to your level of satisfaction. And if that sounds kind of hot, like, go click on that link. The community is totally complimentary. The course right now to learn how to be a facilitator is currently complimentary. And they just purchased a seminary college down in Santa Barbara and are turning it into a physical center of empathy. I'm talking, we got people in there hooking up speakers to the plant, so when you walk in, the property sings to you. And we all want to participate in that and have more of that in the world. So that would be my shameless plug for one of my favorite communities.
Thank you so much, Carol. I love it so much. And I've actually been to one of those empathy circle events, and they are pretty amazing. So Kara wasn't even blowing smoke just yet. So I think our final goodbyes are Crystal and Toby, and I'm just gonna sit here and listen and enjoy all of the sunshine.
Well, my final words of wisdom, be that as they may, is live with kindness. Like I said when I was talking, you know, um, kindness is everything. Just a simple word, you know. Ollie and I share chocolate all the time, you know, smiles and love. Kayla, she works with me on support line with Break the Silence Against Domestic Violence. And I have been able to see what has been going on in chat because she has been supporting me by taking screenshots and sending it to me and checking in on me, because that's just the kind of person that she is, you know, being supportive, letting me, you know, just making sure that I'm okay, knowing that this has been a tough topic. And Kara, I want to just say one thing to you. You look really beautiful. You really should take a selfie right now and update your LinkedIn profile picture with how you look right now, because I really do think you look beautiful right now, and I think it would be a great new profile picture. I know that was off topic, but I just had to. But everybody, thank you guys for being here, listening and sharing and being so open and, you know, with everything. Bethany, everybody, you guys are all amazing, and I'm happy to connect with you all, and I love you. Thank you, Toby, for introducing me to this summit. um, and Kara, if you can send me that link, because like I said, I did get kicked out of chat on LinkedIn. I would love to learn more about this because I'm being a natural empath, why would I want to know anything about that? Nah. I'm also good for the comedic relief, as Ollie knows. So tip your waiters and bye, guys.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. So we are going to the first Saturday of every September. We're going to launch every suicide month with love and compassion. And if you guys want to stay updated, I did post the LinkedIn and the Facebook group links. I also posted my talk for next month, so you can stay in touch with me. Toby, why don't you close us out? To see you. I'm so happy you all showed up. Please make sure you find me on Facebook or LinkedIn. On Facebook, I'm Randi Warner. On LinkedIn, I'm Randi Taggart. I cannot wait to see you next month. You better come to my. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys. So you saw the end of our summit. So now I'll end this live. I love you all. Have a great night.